Hello, this is Steve, Dichroic Glassman. Howdy doody, it's Tuesday, February 7th. Woohoo! How was it in your day today? It wasn't so bad here in Asheville. Really warm. Got to work in short sleeve shirt, so that was pretty cool. Tomorrow we're going to have a good day. Sunday in the mid 70s. What? We have only had one snow in Asheville this winter. That's it. I don't want to get any enemies going on, but damn, that's nice. I could take that all year round. So what's this video going to be about tonight? This is going to be a different one. I've had a couple people inquire, in fact a lot of people over the years, but I've had a couple people lately, and try to address a video as people ask. Anyway, one of them was about what's it going to take to start out in this craft. Well, good question. I promised myself I'd look at a couple videos today on YouTube beginning stained glass, and was like, well, let's just say I'm going to do my own version. Okay. What's it going to take? It's not, one thing I will have to say, it's not the most expensive craft you can get into, by far. Now, that's kind of a misleading statement. Do you realize a jeweler's bench, this is a bench, but a jeweler's bench, a typical standard jeweler's bench, I've been told by 3 or 4 jewelers, starts at $5,000. That's an expensive craft. But then look at the price of a ring. But look at the price of a window. I've made some pretty expensive windows, and you all know what that looks like when you approach an expensive window. So let's don't kid ourselves. But in order to get into the craft, other than these 2 items sitting behind me, right here, grinder A, a standard drum grinder, and B, a disc grinder, which we'll show in future videos. This is both by Glasstar. They're smaller versions. But other than these 2 things behind me, in order to start stained glass, you have pretty much the basics right here. So you can, surprisingly, you can get started in stained glass a lot cheaper than you can buy a good sewing machine for. Or a really good hunting rifle, or you get the point. You got to justify if you're going to get into art. I know people that, they don't have a blue riding lawnmower, so they got to get that one. I'm being funny, I'm being facetious, but some people, it's funny what they prioritize. For me, no amount of money is too much when it go into art. Whether it's for a musician, an artist, your ballerina daughter, whatever, you can't spend too much on art. It's the closest thing to get to the heart, to the God connection. I know I don't want to go too much there, but there's something about art. It saved my life, literally, and I owe it to art that, hey, I'm still around. And boy, have I had some I've had some events filled my journey that could have taken me out. So let's get focused here. It's not that expensive to get started. You can find some really good deals in a Craigslist posting. Newbie, stained glass, selling out, dad died, brother quit, whatever it's going to be. There's all kinds of possibilities in Craigslist. Start in your general area. And other than this grinder, most people don't get a disc grinder. And we'll go into a future video, but other than a stained glass grinder right here, let's talk about what we're going to need. Well, you're going to need some sort of inspiration for books or for ideas. Maybe you're a drawer and you can do the hummingbirds and all the things, but you're not going to necessarily know the languaging of stained glass. It's very valuable that you pick up a book or 2 and understand how the lines connect to each other, the rhyme, the rhythm of how to take a line, a piece of glass, and creatively make it flow into another piece, or to adapt to the hummingbird that might be flying, or a ribbon in the air, or the ballerina slipper. You've got to learn the languaging of how to connect the dots. And I would recommend getting a book, checking them out at your library or whatever. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of books. This is top-notch stuff. This is by Wardell Publications, and they've got some very advanced things in there, and some things that are very doable. I could do a lot of these pieces, but it's just beautiful photography, a lot of expertise. Credit these people and Wardale Publishing for putting together such good books. So you're going to need a source of design, inspiration of why am I here and what are we going to do? We're going to make a ship or we're going to make a bird. So let's get that out of the picture here. You need some place to start. Books are running around $12, $15 a book. You can get pattern books for your sewing. Eventually, no matter what the literature is, you're going to have some money spent up in the educational part. So same thing with stained glass. So a couple books here and there, good deal, good sale, you're in. So let's talk about where you're going to cut. Well, you're going to need glass. Now, here's the expensive thing. Whether you get a bevel, here's a hummingbird, speaking of hummingbirds, or just some plain bevel possibilities, or the dichroic that I utilize, and I don't have a piece right here. Oh, yeah, I do. Here's a dichroic bevel. So you're going to need bevels, maybe, or you're going to need glass. Now, this is what makes the sport of stained glass expensive, is how expensive is the glass? Well, they've got glass that's $8, $9 a foot. That would be right about here. From this point up, that would be about a square foot. This is a little over a square foot, in other words. This is Optimum Ripple. It's a rare glass, but you could spend $18 on this piece of glass. Actually $20 because of the size, or more. There's some glass out there that's $50 a foot. It's made with real gold. Pink glass. This is by Bullseye. This is called mottled. And it looks like raindrops. It looks like acid rain. It looks like all kinds of stuff. This is what's going to make stained glass expensive, because like wood, you've got cheap wood, fir, pine, and then you've got exotic woods. Gaboon, ebony, padauk, wenge. You've got some exotic woods that's going to make things expensive. Same thing with glass. Same thing with your fabrics. Same thing with your upholstery. Same thing with your art paints. There's always the top niche. In stained glass, oh yes, you can spend some really good money. So the point is, you can get into stained glass with a grinder, under $300. That's not expensive to get into a craft that's going to reinforce yourself so that you can express yourself through some form of quality that you're going to show everyone, and that's going to mean a lot to you. After all, the mother of all psychology is self-imagery. Who is it? Who do you think you are? And who do you want to be? So if you want to arrive large and you want to arrive with a quality panel, then you're going to put your all into it. And this is your gift. However you see, however you navigate, however you conduct yourself, the level of quality you're willing to put into it, the time, the dedication, and what you won't compromise. That's really all it boils down to. So you can spend a lot of money on stained glass. Don't kid yourself. With bevel clusters, with expensive glass. But by and large, you can get into this craft reasonably cheap compared to some other crafts when you start adding things up. The real thing is adding the supplies to the initial investment of your grinder and your soldering irons and stuff. So let's talk about soldering irons. My favorite iron of all time, and I've endorsed these people for so long. A lot of my videos is the Unger, if they call them maroon and whites. By far best bang for buck I've ever had in 10 years. This was the #1 iron. Now they're not making them anymore. I'm not happy with this Weller. I'm going to have to start the whole trail of soldering irons. So, point is, you're going to need a soldering iron. I would advise you to get a stand. These little flimsy things that lay down that are folded metal, not so much. I clean my tips off over a garbage can or a pan of sorts, where I take steel wool while the iron is hot and I brush it off like I'm doing right here. I believe that's the best way. I don't like putting it in the sponge. You hot and cold it. I know it's going to temper it, just like smelting and melting and pouring and bronze work and blacksmithing and all that stuff. I know it's going to temper it, but I don't want to do it over and over again every time. So I like the steel wool, and to each their own. You're going to need a rheostat, and this is a rheostat, and what it does, it's a dusty one too. I don't use it. I don't use rheostat because I use my iron full on. That, in other words, no heat temperature control. I'm very fast with my soldering, so I don't need it. I would recommend you get one, and it has a variable control switch here that turns. You plug the iron in here, and you turn the switch if you want it full throttle, so to speak, or anything less than. If you're going to walk away from your project, answer the phone, get your mail, what have you, turn it down low just to keep the iron purring, idling, as you will. And then you can turn it up later and it'll regather itself. So you're going to need a rheostat. And these are probably range about $35. You'd probably find them less, but let's stay with about $35. Iron, about $35. Stand, maybe $15. So you're starting to add things up as you do your own research. Bevel cluster. What's a bevel cluster? It's in this case, it's 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces in order to make this cluster as a hummingbird. You're not going to reconform this cluster to make anything else, just a hummingbird, unless you like abstract. So, bevels. Now you're going to need a way of cutting your glass efficiently, and I recommend this Morton board. This is a dirty one. I don't have clean tools, glass that I'm going to be bringing into any of my videos, so get used to it. I use my stuff. This isn't all pretty and clean. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I'm using my own tool, my own dirty, really used tools in everything I do. This is called a Morton board, and it's not the stuff you're going to buy at Lowe's because it has a plastic back to it. In other words, it doesn't fall through. So as you cut your glass, always on the flat side, and your little shards and fragments, these little ones that get into your arms and wrists that can aggravate you, you don't want that. This board will catch that for you. It's a great surface. Now let's introduce the cutters. It's a great surface to cut your glass. I use the brass handle. I like the Toyo, T-O-Y-O, brass handled cutter. It has more substance, weight to it than this really light acrylic cutter. Both utilize the same head. Let's see, that's a TC10, and no, the different head. They have, this is a Toyo TC01. They have numbers on the cutters, and you can replace these cutter heads. Keep the handle, replace the head with the little screw, throw the other one away, put a new one on. Pretty handy. I like Toyo, these brass handled cutters. I keep a old tin can with a sponge at the bottom, and I use cutting oil. You can use cutting oil from, anything. Dirty oil out of the lawnmower. Doesn't matter, oil's oil. This thing is not a machine. All it cares about is lubricant. So you're going to put some of it in the can, enough to where you can see it, so that every time you set that cutter back in the can, it's back into its oil, and it keeps a nice clean cut. Trust me, you'll find out that as you don't get good cuts. So this is our cutting oil. Now we're going to need a flux. I should have brought that into there, and solder. I only do copper foil. I do not do lead, other than for my outside edges, which we'll show on this panel right here. But I use 60-40, and you need a little flux brush. I keep mine in the top. And here's my flux, and I like Canfield. It's paste. It doesn't spit, and it doesn't smell. You can be this close soldering and does not affect you. You can't say that about liquid. It spits and sputters and it smokes. But that's what lead people are going to utilize, is a liquid flux, not paste. This is for copper foil, folks, and this is the best. I don't know of anything better than Canfield solder, which is very expensive, and Canfield flux. This is the creme de creme. So let's get that solder. Now we got that whole thing. When it comes to cutting glass, there's 2 pairs of pliers for the most part that we're going to want to utilize. These are called running pliers. There's a little mark at the top of it that tells you top or bottom. When you score glass, you're not cutting it. There's no cut to it. All you're going to do is you're going to hear a little scratch mark like that. When you do, what you're going to do, let's say that mark, I cut that mark on this line. And what you're going to do is you're going to line up these pliers with the line on it, put them on there, and all you do is press. And the two pieces will break. That's it. This is called a grossing plier, and it's curved on top, flat on bottom. That's the way you want to use it. It nips away at your piece as you're cutting it. If you were to cut a difficult cut inside of here, you needed that cut out. Most people would use a saw. I wouldn't use a saw on that. I would do it by hand. But it's like onion layers, and you use this to pinch it out so that you can get this whole piece out. I'll do that in another video. I like doing intense cuts like this by hand. They're actually really fun. So we'll go into that. And by the way, we'll do another video on the choices of glass that I utilize. So now we've got patina. Well, we've got a window over here. Let's take this panel down. And what's patina? It turns this silver solder, and it's a chemical, into black lines. Why? Because it helps separate these colors amongst themselves. Clear and clear, if there was a silver line in there, especially to colorblind people like me, then I can't tell them apart until I get close. It helps differentiate by creating these black lines. I only use black. Some people prefer the copper. I don't. I only do black patina. This is patina. It's a liquid. By the way, something really interesting about patina that you might not have known is a person that works in a jewelry store can use the same patina to determine if that gold ring is really gold. If it's not gold, folks, and you dip anything that you think is gold into black patina, it will turn it green immediately. As quickly as it does, let's take that piece of steel wool. As quickly as I'm going to, I took the steel wool to take the rust oxidation off of the surface. Now instantly, it's black. Instant. It's black. You can see the difference between it and the silver here. So it's very important to keep in mind. Another thing too is we've got, this is handy. I do copper foil. This holds my copper foil. It holds my X-Acto knives. It holds my markers. It holds my paint pens, screwdriver, my lead pencils, my X-Acto blades. I've got everything. What's an X-Acto? It's a sharp knife like this. You're going to cut out your patterns or whatever usage that you're going to have with it. I use a lot of X-Acto knives, or I should say I use an X-Acto knife a lot, and you'll see that in future videos as we go expressing all throughout the videos or throughout this whole campaign of this that I'm on currently. We're going to go through all the tools and show you the usages of them. I'm a practical person. I don't feel that you need the gajillion dollars to start. I would like to start I could fill a package quite easily on what fundamental glass should look like that you would make choices out of. And we'll show that in panels what I'm talking about, which kind of glass you want to get that helps you take your pieces and go a long distance with them. I've done a lot of experimenting. I've utilized probably every color, even being colorblind. I still feel colors. It's through this idea, this notion of this confusing world of synesthesia. I feel them. It's a very voluminous feel. Sometimes colors, especially yellow, just it sucks my air out of my lungs. It makes me feel right here. This is the area where you feel fear and anxiety in your stomach, in this bandwidth. Sometimes when I come in contact with colors or energy, it's a big experience. I'm feeling it. I'm not registering it in the typical way. Oh, blue. Oh, green. Oh, yellow. It's a sensory, and we don't know how to explain it. There are no other interpretations. It's something internal, intuitive, if you will. People have strange senses. I'm excited to hear about all the unique sensory that people have. We're led to believe we only have 5, and I don't. I probably have many more than 5. I don't know what they are, and I'm glad. Then I can't be a liar and call it a green blah, blah, blah. You're going to need some shop towels, just some old rags, some old towels, literally. I use them all the time. I use safety glasses. Try to wear them every time you're cutting glass. I've had my eye damaged before, many times, even once surgically when I had my eye punctured when I was a kid, my right eye. I have an extreme sensitivity to light in a good way, in a very interesting, curious way. And another thing, I like a bench brush. But by and large, we're looking at pretty much everything you're going to need to start stained glass, an apron to take care of your clothes, and your inspiration and your desire to do something beautiful. Hey, I hope this is of interest to you. We're going to get more complicated as things go on, or complex, or introduce more characters to the stage as we go. Right now, this is enough to really talk about to get you going and searching, and hey, start scouring that Craigslist. Thanks a lot for watching my videos. Thanks for the comments and the compliments. Let me know what kind of question you want me to answer for you. I'll dedicate a video if it's easy to do. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.